Here we go. Corley Moore, Firehouse Vigilance, Weekly Scrap, number 56. Our special guest tonight is Cort Smith, firefighter with the city of Oklahoma City since 2008, where he has dove deep into all things special operations. He has been involved as an FTO, a field training officer, since 2015 with training, and for a little over the last year, I believe, has been moved over full-time to the training division. Before he got involved in the fire side of things, he was in the U.S. Air Force. I didn't even know this, but you speak quite a few languages, including Russian, Hindi, and Urdu. So it's not just the muscles. He has some brains to back it up. All around cool guy, and someone I am proud to call my friend, Cort Smith. It's my pleasure to have you as the guest on Weekly Scrap number 56.
It's my pleasure to be back, man. I'm seriously humbled to be here. Man, like a year ago when I was on here, it was just a couple dudes from Oklahoma talking, and now you like the lineup you've had. I don't belong here, man. You've had like all the luminaries of the fire service. It's pretty awesome.
No, this is the crazy part is this show would not exist if it wasn't for you. And I don't know if I've told you this story many times or not, but originally it was just supposed to be me talking about topics of leadership and culture, and that's all it was ever going to be. And then one day you said, "Hey, when are you going to have me on as a guest?" And I was like, seriously, someone would want to be a guest? And so you're the one who started it all. Now, it doesn't exist out there unless you find it on Facebook or YouTube. It's hard to find the original one because the audio was so bad because I did not know what I was doing. So it's not in podcast form and stuff. But that's why you're back. You're the first person to come back to be a second guest on the Scrap. Also, the reason I call you the OG is the Scrap would not exist if you hadn't been the first one to say yes. So I owe you.
Appreciate it, brother. Happy to be here.
Everyone watching live, if you have questions for Cort or myself, please don't hesitate to ask them in the comments, in the questions. I will read them out loud. Did I miss anything in the intro? Anything you want to add?
No, man. Just happy to be here. Let's talk fire.
Let's do it. Okay, so first one I lead off with, it's the 2020 question. It's how has it affected you? How has training and leading recruit classes been going on with the craziness of the world?
We only had one recruit class in 20, and it went fine. We didn't have any hiccups with COVID or anything like that. We had to, go by the CDC guidelines and all that stuff.
Sure.
Temp checks every day, all that jazz. But it went pretty well. In fact, down at our training center, I don't think we've had much of a problem with COVID at all. So we've been pretty fortunate so far.
Avoiding it. Good.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you been in training? Not just, I know about a year you've been there officially, but how long have you been involved as the FTO and all that?
So I started FTO rookie classes in 2015. I did 2 classes in 15, and then I did a class in 2018 as an FTO. And right after that, I came down to training full time. It was a little over a year ago, probably about 14 months ago, and that's when I've trained 2 recruit classes since then as an actual training officer, and I've just been working full time with the training division since then.
Awesome.
So it's been a little different than coming in as FTO. We're like full time training now. It's all aspects of training, not just recruits. But it's been awesome for the last year or so.
Awesome. Shimper Messis has chimed in and said brotherhood. I gave it a like. The training officer J Lo himself says the only thing I missed in the intro was he is the BMFR in the room. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's Justin's words, not mine.
Yeah. I don't know about that. Try to be. Justin's right there with me, though. Don't let him fool you, man.
Justin fools nobody. He's all quiet and standing in the corner. He fools nobody. We know the truth. Yeah. So I got to talk to you about it the first time I had you on, but your training philosophy, where it comes from. I know we did it back when you first came on, but I loved it. The audio was terrible, so I really want to revisit all of that and how your training philosophy came to be and what you use on the classes.
So with the recruit classes, our basic philosophy for the Recruit Academy, we run 3 phases. We call it fear, pain, and pride. And it's essentially just that. That first couple of weeks, we just want to get them scared. We try to make it as close to boot camp as we can, and I think we get pretty close. But we just want to get them scared enough to where they don't ask any questions. They just do what they're told. But there's a purpose to it. So essentially, we want them too scared to question anything because we want them to just do what we tell them. That, like, if we tell them to handle a 2.5 a certain way, we want them to know that that's the way to do it. There's not another way. You just do it this way. So that's basically how the first couple of weeks goes. There's a lot of yelling, a lot of, pain retains. So there's a lot of wall sits and push-ups and stuff like that. But then we move into the pain phase, which isn't really, there is some physical pain, of course, because you're working really hard, but that's basically the middle phase where we're on the drill ground constantly, almost every day. And the point there is to get them working to their limits and then beyond their limits. And the ultimate point there is for them to learn that they have no limits, because as firefighters, we can't really afford to have any. There's nobody else coming except more firefighters. So we our code down there, I always ask them at the end of every day, how long will you work? They say until the job's done. I say, how long does it take to get the job done? They respond, as long as it takes. And I say, what are you? Oklahoma City Firefighters.
Nice.
And that's the point we're trying to drive home to them. And every time they reach their limit where they're just ready to pass out, we would point out to them, we say, good, that was your limit. Tomorrow you're going to be stronger. And it tends to hold true. And then once we get through the pain phase, that last month or so, we're just building them up. That's the pride phase. We want thinking firefighters out there in the field. So we're trying to build them up, get that esprit de corps, that firefighter pride, so that when they hit the streets, they've got a head full of steam and they're ready to go out and conquer and just do a good job.
This sounds awesome, man. I especially like that mantra, the ending every day. I love those. They become traditions over time, obviously, but I love those daily rituals that become part of the culture.
That's the thing. We start and end each day the same way. At 7 a.m, I go in there. They all get to their seats when I walk in. I'll call the room to attention, and they'll say, like, whatever class, like our next class will be 21-1. So I'll call the room to attention. They'll stand up, say 21-1, ready to work, sir. And I say, okay. And then I give them a rundown of the day. And then at the end of each day, they get back in the classroom. And the last thing they hear before they leave for the day is I call the room to attention. And they'll jump up and say their class 21-1, respect the job, honor the past, preserve the brotherhood. And I'll ask them, how long will you work till the job's done, sir? How long does it take to get the job done? As long as it takes, sir. What are you, Oklahoma City Firefighters, sir? And it just gives us a really distinct beginning and end of the day. And it sends them out, on a high note, kind of, especially if they've been getting beat down all day.
Sure.
So,
no, and over the classes, it's something they can always remember, man. When another class meets another class, they'll talk about being called to attention and what do we say, And I love those.
Yeah,
I love those
cool.
part of the crew. Paco C.O. Carlin asks, how big are your academies and what's your attrition rate?
The academies generally range anywhere from 30 to 60, and our attrition rate is very low. We'll almost always lose one the first day, and then we'll usually lose maybe another one or two tops the first full week. But after that, we don't really lose many at all. I'd say it would be, I don't think I've lost more than 2 in a single class.
That's pretty good. Especially when you start with the fear of pain philosophy. That's pretty good retention rate.
Well, yeah, if we get them too scared to think, they can't think, well, I think I should quit. They just work.
You get them past the quitting point through fear.
Right. Yeah.
I was gonna say it's a good hiring process that brings you really good candidates that keeps them there, but I'll take the other. Awesome, man. So I got to talk I'll get to the night of training. I want to talk to you about, now you've done not only recruit classes, because the first time we talked, it was strictly talking about recruit classes, but now you've done some AOA and some sergeant academies. Which sergeant? What exactly is a sergeant in the OKC? What's that rank entail?
That's your first driver rank. So start with AOA. When they get about 2 to 2.5 years on, they come to AOA, Apparatus Operators Academy. And historically, it's just been you come down to training for a week and you learn a little bit of hydraulics and you get basically checked off on different, like, can you pump a hand line? Can you set an aerial? It was really basic and, fundamental. I don't like to use the word basic, but it's very fundamental. But we've evolved that now. It's a 2-week academy, and we've done 2 of them, and it's essentially evolving into a corporal's academy. And the pumping evolutions are much more in depth. It's actually, they'll spot at a fire and they'll, charge the first line. They'll get on city water or on hydrant water, and then we'll start throwing them curveballs, and just see how they react.
Right.
We'll have people hanging out of windows and, or we'll get on the radio and say, command a pump operator, we got an exposure off gassing on the Bravo side, deal with it, stuff like that.
Nice.
And on top of that, we've also started adding in some, a little bit of leadership, but mostly like tips on how to teach the next generation the pumping and the driver stuff, the AOA stuff that they'll be coming into. So we give them about a half-day class on just instruction techniques.
Very nice, very nice. So they just keep on passing it on.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and then the Sergeant's Academy, once you promote to sergeant, that academy is now 2 weeks as well, and we've gotten way more in depth on the leadership part of it, the motivation, the training, tips and stuff on training and instruction. Setting up command, all that stuff. It's become a pretty all-inclusive sergeant's academy.
So the sergeants, your drivers, will they ride out as an officer on the rig, or is that eventually? Or
yeah, they will.
Okay.
Yeah, as soon as you make sergeant, your first shift as a sergeant, you may be riding out.
Okay.
In charge of the rig, which is, for me, it's always been a point of contention with the sergeant academies, because we hammer a lot on setting up command on a scene, and that seems to be what most of the new sergeants want to practice the most. And I asked them, I was like, I asked them straight up, like, what are you guys most nervous about in your new role as a driver? And almost every one of them says setting up command. I'm like, dude, that's this much of your job. Like, you're relief officers, you're full-time drivers, like. I always put it to them like this: if you're a sergeant riding out on a rig, you pull up first due fire, and if you mess up some assignment and a chief has to unscrew that job that you did, you'll be forgiven. If you can't get water or if you can't set an aerial,
yeah.
That's unforgivable. Like, you have so much more to worry about than setting up command. And so it's kind of, I don't know, the whole process is building, but like going back to AOA, we're hammering on the technical aspects of the job. It's really, really in depth on the technical stuff, so that we're kind of laying a foundation so that when they make driver, they don't have to worry about the technical stuff. Then they can just focus on leadership
Sure.
and running a crew and stuff like that.
And I can say,
I know for me,
go ahead.
No, for me, that was a huge, when I was on the back, I was pretty cocky. I thought it was pretty good, but then when I made driver, like, immediately overnight, I realized I don't know anything. I'm completely clueless, and there's a lot of guys I know who, had the same experience, and we're trying to, the training cadre that we have now, we're trying to solve that problem, basically.
Nice. No, and I was going to say, I don't blame guys for being intimidated by setting up a command, because they've been pumping the truck, and that part they're comfortable with. It's the unknown new thing where they're on the radio doing stuff that they haven't done before. That's the intimidating part.
Right.
And that's what you get to kind of shift back into perspective by saying, hey, guys, calm down. You've done this.
Yeah, right.
That's the part. Get the fundamentals, or what, like, you don't like to say it, the basics, but get the fundamentals down.
Yeah. There's no basic, there's no advanced, there's just the way.
The way. I got to talk to Justin when he was on, the training officer, about your night of training, but I wanted to talk to you about it also, because I love this thing you guys do at the end of your recruit classes. You basically set up a 24-hour shift where these guys come in, they cook, they make rides, they make nuisance calls, they go check hydrants, they go do an inspection. they run around on the rigs, and then it's 24 hours of them making rides, real deals, live fire, rescues, car wrecks, medical calls. It's unreal. So just talk about the night of training is what I call it. I don't know if it has an official name.
Yeah, it's good. Well, we called it the extended training day, and now our training cadre, our majors, have called it Eudicium, which means the trial.
Okay.
And
I like that better than me calling it the night of training.
Right. Yeah. I never would have come up with that. That's all Major Yaw. He's the creative one in the bunch. It's an extended training day, so let's just call it that. But it definitely is an action-packed 24 hours. We put them into companies. I'd say everybody makes 6 or 7 fires. I think total, the last one, we probably had 15 fire alarms, including the middle of the night, which your guys didn't get to stay for that, but we do like an all hands fire where basically every building on the drill field has fire and victims and all kinds of stuff. Everybody makes at least a couple of Signal 82s, and all of the Signal 82s are they're all multi-car, and they involve a rollover, so they all have to have stabilization done. Everybody makes a car fire, which those are pretty awesome. A number, probably 6 or 7 medical rides, and then, like you said, they got to flow plugs, they got to do all the normal day-to-day station stuff. The coolest part about it now is we've involved almost every level of training in it. It's like we have the recruits; those are the guys in the back, but we've got either the new boy drivers or guys who are like senior corporals. They'll be the company officers, and then we've got kids who are in AOA training. They'll be the drivers. So now every officer has a dedicated driver, and they've got their own rig, and it's really come a long way. And I think for the next one, I've talked to some chiefs, and we're going to try to get some of their ride outs in there, just doing chief stuff. So they'll come in for like 4 or 6 hours. Yeah, and we'll just inundate them with, OJIs or personnel problems, disciplinary stuff,
there you
all
go,
kinds of crap.
Here's the real deal paperwork. Yeah. That is awesome.
Yeah.
And like you talked about, we actually got to send an engine company up there to participate on this last one, and hopefully every time in the future, because all 4 of the guys who got to go on that engine just could not say enough good things. And the little bit I was there just to observe, I was blown away by the level of realistic fire training that was done. They made that first do on that commercial with the victims trapped, and you had the one of the FTO's wives coming up and grabbing the first in company officer saying, my kids are in there, my kids are, not even letting him talk on the radio. Yeah. It was awesome, man. Everything about it. And then, like we've already talked about Dane y'all twice, but he took us through the medical call with just things to look for to keep safe on a medical scene. It was like I said, man, the level of training and the realistic fire training, unbelievable on that deal. So
yeah, I don't know. Like, hopefully, I figured your guys would leave and then send another crew. Like, that's what you guys should do next time.
Man,
send one crew and then they go back and send another crew.
I promise you, if we can make it happen, we will make it happen. So, because it is way worth it. We'll have one coming every 4 hours for 6 shifts or 6. If the chief will okay it, we'll make it happen.
Because the Moore guys, man, they showed up. They were awesome. In fact, some of your younger guys, I still need to talk to them because I think we're going to start hiring again in January, February. So,
no, but no, especially I think it was Seth and Trenton. But yes, they are amazing. All right, back to what I was going to deal with. Some pretty large recruit classes, like Paco asked earlier. You deal with pretty large recruit classes, so I want to talk about what's the challenges and the advantages of having 30 to 60 guys to work with at a time.
The challenges would be just the sheer number, getting that many guys and gals, enough reps on everything to get them to that level of mastery that we're looking for. The advantages are, well, obviously there'll be more people in the field when we get done. But also I kind of like the, I guess kind of a hidden advantage is you get so many different types of people in there that it tests our abilities as training officers to adapt to different types of people. Because what works for one recruit may not work as well for another recruit. So we got to kind of keep our heads on swivel and adapt what we're doing to those different guys. And it makes it a challenge, but it makes it a little more fun too, I would think. Yeah.
Have you seen a specific personality type that has been more challenging to you and your personality specifically, or not? I mean, anything that sticks out is what I'm asking.
Man, yeah, if you get the you
don't have to use names.
The younger, no, I won't. But especially some of the younger ones who've never actually had a job or never served. You know, like it's like I was in the military for a long time, and then I went straight in the fire service. So I've never had a real job. You know,
sure.
But having served, at least I knew the deal coming in. So we'll get young guys who've been in the military and they adapt really well. But we'll get some younger recruits who, you know, they may have worked at Brahms or something for the last couple of years and just thought it would be neat to be a firefighter. And it's like, bro, you don't know what you're in for, man.
Right.
Like, those are the toughest ones. Or people who just don't. I'll tell you this: the most challenging ones are the ones who think that it's just a game that we're playing. We're just being mean, trying to get them to quit. We had a little bit of that with the last class, and I just told them straight up, like, if you think we're just being mean to try to get you to quit, that's ridiculous. Like, this is not going to get any easier. There's not going to be a point where we let up and everything's just cool. Like, every day in the academy is the toughest day you've had so far, and it's easier than tomorrow. So the ones who come in thinking that's always a challenge.
Always a challenge. They usually get it adjusted. Eventually they believe.
Yeah. Eventually, we'll make believers out of them.
Fair. That is very fair. So, and I wanted to touch on this because it was you kind of alluded to it, which is the reps on the skills, because you break down skills into their component parts, and then rep on them.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So it goes back to a book I always tout called The Talent Code. We basically will take any essential firefighting skill, so or a task, which would be pulling a line or throwing a ladder or forcing a door, and we'll take that task and we'll parse it down into its simplest elements, and we'll teach every aspect of that until they get it. So, like, for example, with hand lines, we only train on 2.5. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but the basic or the primary reason is if they can handle a 2.5 with an 1 3/16 tip, they can handle any hand line we've got. So we'll start with that, and we'll start with just nozzle control. We teach them 4 different nozzle positions, and they have to master each one of those positions. Then we teach them how to advance by themselves. Then we teach them how to advance with a backup, and we keep. You know, every step along the way, they have to master that particular element of the task before they can move on to the next. And by doing that, instead of just teaching them pull a hand line and go, you know, run into that building, by doing it our way, by the time they're advancing through a building, they've got all the fundamental elements that they need to mitigate that, and it tends to run a lot smoother. It takes us a little longer to get there, but once they're there, they're cruising.
Right.
You know, it works really well.
That's awesome, man. No, I love that. So I wanted to touch on this because me and you, we're not getting any younger. Every year that passes, we're another year in the fire service, another year of being a salty old, big bicep veteran. But what I wanted to say was the recruit classes, they stay the same. You know, generally speaking, I know we hire some old guys, but have you seen a difference in, I don't know if I'm there. It says my internet connection is unstable.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep talking like it's working. Have you seen a difference in the generations or younger generations and the challenges of that? Or is it kind of what you've already talked about?
Yeah, I mean, of course, you see a difference in the different ages that come through, because our recruit classes, they range in age from 18 to 40. But with, I don't know, for me, yeah, you see the different types of generation stuff, but for us, the way we run the academy, we don't really pay attention to that. We treat everybody the same, and everybody just needs to get on board. that's how we do it. And it tends to work for us. So some people start ahead of the curve, some will start behind, but by the time we're a couple of weeks in, everybody's basically at the same level, and we can start learning at the same pace. But that's another thing. We start off by we teach at the pace of the fastest learner, and we don't really slow down. So people
Let me know if the video dies because Facebook or my internet is acting weird. So just keep me informed. Other than that, we'll keep talking here. Anything you have learned? This is one of my new favorite questions. I've been asking it quite a bit on the scrap. So I got to throw it at you. It says anything you've learned in your last basically 20 years of life that a younger Cort, an 18-year-old Cort, 20-year-old Cort would look at you right now and laugh, saying, "I'll never be that guy." Like what have you learned that's changed in your perspective from that young guy?
Oh man, I can tell you for sure. From the time I got on the job when I was a young firefighter, uh, I say this in my hydraulics class. If you had told me 10 or 12 years ago that someday I'd be talking about friction loss coefficients and water droplet size and all the crap that goes into that, I'd have thought you were nuts. But that's like one of the core classes that I teach now.
No, it's a great class too. You've actually brought it into my department and taught it to my shift, so much appreciation for that. So just basically the nerdier side of firefighting.
Yeah, man. When I got onto the fire department, I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna be badasses. This is gonna be awesome.
And I kick indoors and save
I
babies.
didn't. Right. Yeah. I didn't allow for the fact that I would be teaching, math and science, physics and shit. So yeah, that'd probably be the biggest thing that I've learned that I never would have believed back then.
I like to say fire nerd, but I really like Brian Brush's fire service. What is it? His warrior scholar, fire service warrior scholar. That's what I prefer to say. Sounds better than fire
Yeah,
nerd.
that is a cooler way to say it. Warrior scholar. I'm gonna go with that. Warrior scholar.
Let me see. We've got the training officer talks about decoupage Dane. So Dane has been a big topic of conversation today. LJ Geist is chiming in, said, much respect to the Cort, J-Lo, and the training staff for what they do with the recruits. It takes some guts to do that end of the job. And then Hannah Elliott has chimed in and said, Dane, again he's mentioned, the best chauffeur to the hospital, with a couple smiling emojis. So.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to Hannah. If she could, I'd like for her to send us a picture of like a selfie or something to see how she's healed up. I don't know if you know this, but at our conference, she was forcing a door with a Halligan and took a pike to the face. And she had to go get, Dane ran her to the hospital real quick. She got stitched up, came back, and then she just suited up and started doing burns with us and everything. Like she's a trooper. So Hannah, I hope you're healing up well.
No, I saw the pictures the day it happened. I have not seen a follow-up picture, so we'll get one from her at some point. But yeah, and to come back, so that's a perfect excuse to miss out on the rest of the day. So to come back takes some grit.
LJ is a badass too, man. If you're looking for a job, Oklahoma City, we're gonna be hiring pretty soon. So come down south, brother.
Just bring it south of the state line.
Yeah.
Last scrap, I talked to Aaron Quinn out of Oakland, and me and him talked a lot about informal leadership versus formal leadership. So you got your rank and your the structure that recognizes rank, obviously, in officers, but then there's the informal side of things. And he talked about some of the stuff that happens in his department, culturally wise, that recognizes the senior man. And I just wondered if there's anything at OKC or any ideas that you would like to see implemented if you were king of the world type question to recognize the informal position, besides just personal responsibility of I'm going to be personally responsible to be an awesome senior man. Does that make sense, the question?
Yeah. I think so. So we do have an informal position in Oklahoma City, which I'm sure a lot of departments have, the senior firefighter. And it is a very important position. It's something we look at a lot, especially drivers and officers. We lean on that senior firefighter. Usually the way it works is you got to get buy-in from that guy first before you're going to get buy-in from the crew if it's a pretty respected senior firefighter. So I do like that. if guys take that role seriously, then it's something that's very much appreciated. If guys don't take it seriously, we'll tend to just skip over that guy and find someone else to fill that role. But that's probably our biggest informal leadership role that we have on the department. But as far as leadership in general, one of my majors, Major Gabehart, Wiley Gabehart, he gives every academy that we've got come through there from recruit through major. He'll give them talks on leadership from the Marine Corps, Marine Corps Leadership Handbook, and it's pretty awesome when he talks to recruits, especially and corporals, young firefighters, about being leaders. He demonstrates them. He illustrates that you guys have got these traits already. But these are things you can look at to basically guide your role as a leader on the department. It doesn't matter what rank you are, but you can always be leaders on the department, and that's something that has resonated with me. Seeing him teach that at every level has been pretty awesome. And we even tell recruits, we always tell them, don't ever think that you won't have an impact, even as a recruit. We talk about Audie Murphy. That guy, he got a battlefield commission, got the Medal of Honor when he was like 18, 19
Right.
years old, brand new soldier in the Army. Like, you never know what your impact's going to be. So it makes it worth it to always work hard, always put out, always act like you're a leader. You can lead from any rank.
No, that is a super powerful message that comes from him. And I want to say this is that I didn't know he even taught that. So the next time he does, I really want to come and audit the class. I want to sit through it. So let me know the next time Wiley teaches that, because I'm going to come sit through it.
Yeah, I'll do it, man.
Hannah Elliott said, "Thank you. The face is healed up nicely." So there's a follow-up.
Good deal.
The Fools. You are currently the president of MidAmerican Fools. It's been doing some big things. I just had the big MidAmerica conference, fire conference, which was a huge success. It was, it was great. I'm also proud to be a member of MidAmerican Fools. I wore the shirt because the president was going to be on today. I wanted to represent. So,
Nice.
Talk to me about the Fools, how you got involved, and just in general, what you think of it and all that kind of stuff.
I got involved probably 6 or 7 years ago. I've been the president for the last 3 years. We're all about our number one goal, of course, is preserving the brotherhood. And towards that end, we offer a lot of training when we can to mostly to smaller departments, who probably don't get a whole lot of opportunity to train on their own. We'll try to bring the training to them. You mentioned our conference. That was our first ever MidAmerican Fools conference, which that's been a goal of ours for a long time. And all credit for that goes to Josh Piercy, who's he's our treasurer, and he pretty much put that whole thing together, and it was a huge success. We had a lot of fun with it. The speakers were awesome. You did a fantastic job with your talk, way better than I ever expected from a guy from Moore. It was it was pretty awesome. But we had Kurt Isaacson came. That was really cool. All the speakers were great, man. Wes Sitton gave a great talk. Chief Walker, Brian Brush. It was pretty cool. It was great, and that's what we're all about, man. It's just preserving the brotherhood and reaching out to all the brothers and sisters out there who want to train, who want to learn, and want to carry on the old traditions of the fire service.
That was great, man. And again, the 2-day conference you put on was really good. The 1 day lectures and the 1 day hands-on. We plan it again for 2021, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, we're already planning that.
Any teasers?
I think I'm sure it'll be at the same place. Josh was talking about maybe using a bigger room next year, try to get more people in there, and probably adding some more classes to the hands-on. I don't know. I'm sure you saw out there, we've got plenty of room. We can put on some more classes. We've talked. I don't know how solid this is, but maybe Piercy putting on his big rig rescue class that would be really cool. Some more live fire stuff. So the guys from All Saws came. They were awesome.
No, yeah. I got to meet Mike, and I'm bringing Mike on. I'm trying to see my in December. He's coming on to be a guest on the scrap, so he was fun to talk to.
Oh yeah, that guy was cool, man. Yeah, those guys were all great. I thought that the conference was a huge success, and again, Josh, man, he did a fantastic job putting it together.
He killed it. Yeah, there's no doubt.
And I got to have a little debate with Kurt Isaacson, which I never would have dreamed that would happen. Debating the 7/8 versus the 15/16, which I think I actually won that debate, but
it's fair.
We'll see. I don't know.
I'll ask him. I'm gonna get him on here eventually. I've been trying to book him for quite some time, but he is so busy. So when I do, I'll mention that you beat him in the 15/16 debate, and I'll get his response at least.
Well, dude, and even like the bigger feather in my cap from that was we started talking about the two different tip sizes, and then I brought up the Freeman ratio, and he's like, "Okay, hang on. I hear enough of that shit from Laguerre. I don't want to hear it here." I was like, "Oh man, he compared me to Dennis Laguerre, so that's pretty cool."
That's pretty hard to argue.
I was really happy with that. Yeah.
Pretty hard to argue. Yeah, it's like that's a huge compliment. 12 years in the fire service, still fired up. Fitness is huge to you. I know. What is your secret, and what advice would you give to people who want to be in the game for the long run? Like, what keeps your engine firing?
Just lift. That's all you gotta do. Just lift all the time. I'm kidding. No, I actually really slack on that. Fitness obviously is very important. I mean, statistically, the leading cause of firefighter deaths is heart attacks, and that's obviously due to a lack of fitness. So I don't know. I think I would have to say my number one tip to people who are looking to get in shape to be firefighters or stay in shape to be firefighters, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I'm going to say it. But CrossFit is
really
that's probably the way to go. I don't do CrossFit, and I'm not going to do CrossFit, but I will say the recruits I've had who are diehard CrossFitters, they have far and away exceeded physically all the other folks that I've had down there. So the proof is in the pudding. So
that's hard to argue with when you can say I look at the recruit. If it's it's right there.
Yeah, and I'm gonna catch hell for that because I hate CrossFit.
The training officer said lift and eat Sonic. Legit. That was just
and I do tell guys that. Yeah,
then he made
some of the guys would get it way too. Yeah. So, I tell the guys that if they come in and they're way too skinny, which that's a problem. If you come in and you weigh 130 pounds, you're going to have a tough time. So I always tell them, here's the secret. Every day when you get done at the academy on your way home, go to Sonic, get a number 7 and get the large chili cheese tater tots with it. Get a 44-ounce cherry vanilla Dr. Pepper, and then it's not on the menu, but if you ask for it, they'll make it a 44-ounce Butterfinger Blast, and you kill that whole thing. That's like 3,500 calories.
Yeah, that sounds like it. That's like diabetes in a paper bag.
Yeah, man. But you got to put on those pounds.
No, that would definitely. I mean, my son is 165 pounds, dripping wet, and his caloric intake could definitely use some upping, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I tell those little guys, a grown man weighs at least 200 pounds. So
I like it. Awesome. So I always ask every guest that comes on here if they have a book that they think firefighters should read. I know I've asked you before because this is your second time back, but do you have a book you think that firefighters should read? Book or books?
So I always say The Talent Code. That's a must read. But also 2 other books would be Peak and Drive. And I can't remember who wrote Peak. I think Drive was by Daniel Pink. But anyway, those 2 books are awesome. They get more into the motivation side of things and developing mastery. And those 3 books together, Talent Code, Peak, and Drive, will teach you pretty much everything you need to know about training, teaching, learning, and developing mastery.
Talent Code, that's Croyle. I know that. Peak, I don't know who Drive. And you said Drive was by Pink, or did I get those wrong?
I think it's Daniel Pink that wrote Drive, but I might be wrong on that.
So Talent Code, Peak, and Drive. Everything you need to know about training. Right there, 3 books done.
Yep.
The world according to Cort
That's
Smith.
it, man.
All right, now then, we have the thing. It is the 5 questions for firefighters. This did not exist the first time you came around, so this is brand new to you.
Okay.
The answers are completely up to you. There are no correct answers. The points are completely arbitrary, passed out by me, if I even remember to pass them out. So, are you ready, Cort Smith, for the 5 questions for firefighters?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, here we go. Question number 1. What is the number one issue facing the modern fire service?
Oh, man, that's a big question. I guess in my role as a training officer, I would say a general reticence to learn new things. I think as firefighters, we often take things at face value, and we never question, well, why is it that way? I think if you ask most firemen in America, like, why do you do it that way? Their answer would be, well, that's the way we've always done it. So I think that's a big issue is learning new things, or even like questioning the what people think is the best way to learn something. Challenging the perceived best way to learn a certain skill. I think those are the 2 big things.
I like that, and I'm going to give you max points because you used reticence, and it was unexpected. I like it. Number 2. What is the thing you are most excited about for the future of firefighting?
Return to smoothbores.
It's hard to knock.
Is that an acceptable answer?
I think so. I don't have to ask which one, the 7/8 or 15/16, but
15/16 and 3/16 all the way. No, I actually do like that though. Really, it's just, I think, a return to a simpler way of thinking about things. The smoothbore is the simplest nozzle to pump. It's I don't know. There's not much you can't do with a smoothbore. There are times when I do like a fog nozzle, but I just like that we're getting back to the basics with the smoothbores, and it seems to be almost nationwide. People are going back to that. There's still a lot of automatic fogs being used, and I think that's a problem. But yeah, I think that's a cool thing for the future, and but also the people we're going to be getting in the future. I know that may sound controversial because people talk about millennials and Zoomers and Gen Y or whatever the hell. I don't even know who's out there right now. Who knows what
the next one's called? Yeah, the Coronials.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but I think with each new generation, we're going to encounter weaknesses, but we're going to encounter a lot of strengths as well, like different ways of thinking about things. As long as we with these new generations coming, as long as we stick to our guns as far as aggressive interior firefighting, I think we're going to see a lot of new ways of thinking and new ways of perhaps being even more aggressive, while still staying safe.
Oh, I love that. And I can't help but every time the generational thing comes up, I can't help but think back to like 1918 or something, 1925, whatever. And the old guys talking about this, what we now call the greatest generation, but as teenagers and youngsters, and they were just making fun of them and saying how worthless they were. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's just repeats.
Yeah, it does. And it's, it's peaks and valleys, and like, I don't know. I can't help but be hopeful for the future, and maybe that's just the training officer speaking. But I'm hopeful for the next class coming up. Who knows? Who knows what's going to come out of this next class? But I'm hopeful, and I'm optimistic.
Hey man, that's what I want to hear if I'm coming into that class, as opposed to pessimism. Question 3. So you got me to talk a lot on that one. Question 3: best rank or position to have in the fire service?
Probably driver. And I only say that because that's where I'm at right now. I don't know what it's like to be a captain or a chief. I can't imagine being a chief is very much fun. But at the same time, you're getting to influence an entire district full of people. So, yeah, I don't know. I think for me anyway, in my experience, being a driver has been the best position. I enjoyed being a firefighter. I had a lot of fun. But I like to be challenged, and I've definitely, I've been a driver for 6 years now, and the challenge has never stopped, and it's been the most intriguing and challenging and fun position for me to be in.
Awesome. Awesome. I like it. Best advice, number 4, question 4, best advice you have ever received.
Oh man. Okay. Man, let me think how to word it. Well, this is going to sound like kind of a weird answer. The best advice I ever received was no advice. And let me
Okay.
explain what I mean. I worked for a guy named Brad Tobin. He's a major. He's at Station 6 now, Oklahoma City, Blue Shift. I worked for him for 4 years, and that guy never gave me a word of advice. But just working for him, I'll tell you this: in 4 years of working for that guy, driving him on everything, every kind of ride you can imagine, because we were Station 8, we did everything, special operations, whatever, house fires, anything, we did everything. But in 4 years and in all those rides, hundreds of rides, I never once saw that guy make a mistake. And I mean that literally. He never messed up, not one time. And just looking at that guy and knowing that that's what I was working for made me want to achieve that, And so I guess the best advice I ever got was just watching that guy work and watching the example that he set, And I think that's often overlooked by people. They want, little sound bites or
Sure.
maxims from people. Some of the best advice you can get, some of the best leaders you're ever going to work for are the ones who don't say a word. You just watch them work, and you can learn a lot from those people.
Just seeing their example, watching them do their example.
Oh yeah.
I was going to give you no points for not having advice, but that's a really good answer. So max points once again. All right. Question number 5. The final question of 5 questions for firefighters. You got heavy fire and tenable space. Would you rather be assigned to the nozzle or first in on VES?
No, VES. Obviously. Come on, dude. What are we in the business of?
I get it.
We're in the business. We're in the business of saving lives, brother. If I can get in there and save a life, well, we'll let that house burn to the fucking ground. I don't care. Yeah, definitely first in VES. Get that victim out.
Nice.
And then we'll put the fire out later.
Of course, with that 15/16.
Yeah.
At least 15. But yes, hey, that's it. The 5 questions for firefighters, according to Cort Smith. Very good. Excellent. Okay, best place to get a hold of you if someone wants to get a hold of you. Anything going on with you right now that you want to plug or talk about?
No, not a whole lot. The Fools is doing some training at MidAmerican Technology Center the next couple of weekends. But other than that, just follow MidAmerican Fools, Oklahoma City Metro on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff, Twitter, whatever. We got a guy, he puts stuff out on all those platforms. And come out to a meeting, see what we're about. And if you're into it, join up, man. We like to train, we like to talk, and we like to drink beer and just kind of hang out. So
no, if you enjoy any of those things, definitely, if you're in the area, join the MidAmerican Fools. So coming up, guests coming up next week. Trying to find my schedule up in front of me. I got Ben Schultz next week. The week after that, Sean Duffy, and then Andrew Starnes, and then Howard Reinwald. That is the November coming up. Kicked off on this November 2nd by Cort Smith to get us into the holiday season. Brother, it has been a really fun conversation, so I really am glad you came back. I really am glad you asked in the first place to be a guest, because I have got to, since that first interview with you, I have got to talk to so many people. It blows my mind. So,
dude, and hats off to you, Corley. This is really taken off, and it's really going places. And I'm just glad you asked me back. That's awesome, man. You've really grown this into something special. So hats off, brother.
I get blown away each time someone says, "Yeah, I'll come on," and so it's a lot of fun. I do enjoy it, and I get to have great conversations and drink adult beverage with a friend who loves the fire service. So, with that being said, This is Weekly Scrap number 56 going in the books. Special guest Cort Smith, thank you so much for coming on once again. For all of the viewers out there, thank you for the comments. Thank you for the questions. See you next week. I hope the tone stays silent. Unless it is burning, stay safe out there, everybody.